Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor.
But today, modern national security has expanded to comprehensive, multidimensional concept encompassing economic stability, territorial integrity, cybersecurity, energy, food, and environmental security, and now extended to elections. So that is why we can talk about credible elections and national security. National security is very expansive. You are talking of drought, you are talking of lack of food, but most of us do not even appreciate that whenever there is scarcity, it's a concern of national security. And let me also dare say that when the weather heats up, it also has its own effect and impact on national security. Research and statistics has shown very clearly that there's a correlation even between the weather, it's very hot in Abuja now, so, and national security. For the experts, if they begin to go to their drawing boards, you discover that whenever the weather is so harsh and hot, there's always tension and possibility of violence. The famous statement of President John Kennedy is apt to the topic of our discussion. And he said, that is the former president of the United States, the ignorance of one voter in a democracy impairs the security of all. Just one voter, ignorance. You can now begin to imagine the magnitude of the problem that we have in this country. Just one voter has a correlation and impact even on national security. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a profound honor to stand before you, these strategic thinkers and security practitioners. I must commend the Institute, Alumni Association of Nigeria, of National Institute of Security Studies, for their foresight in choosing this theme, credible election and national security in Nigeria. I'm also very happy and delighted and express my heartfelt appreciation and gratitude for the privilege to chair this auspicious second annual lecture series of this esteemed association. Sometimes we're invited for an occasion like this, but I am happy and also always enthused that you are actually doing part of our work, constitutional responsibility in INEC, which has to do with the issue of voters' education, sensitization, awareness, and even security. In our journey towards democratic consolidation, we must move past the notion that elections and security are parallel tracks. They are not. They are, in fact, two sides of the same coin of national stability. While the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, the Electoral Act 2026 that has just been enacted, and the INEC regulation provide the legal framework of our democracy. I dare say that it is the security architecture that provides the enabling environment for those laws to breathe. Without a secure environment, the sovereign will of the people is not just threatened, it is silenced. As we gather here today, we are reminded that credible elections are the bedrock of our democracy. And indeed, they serve as a litmus test for the strength and resilience of our national security architecture. The interplay between election integrity and national security is profound. One sustains the other. To have a peaceful, secure, and prosperous nation, the credibility of our elections cannot and must not be compromised. In Nigeria, our electoral system has faced numerous challenges over the years, ranging from malpractices to threat of violence, vote trading that undermine the confidence of the electorate. These challenges not only affect the outcome of elections, but also pose significant risk to our national security. Thus, it is imperative that we address this concern with utmost seriousness and resolve. I recall at one of the colloquium I attended at George Washington University in the United States, I happened to be the only Nigerian professor some years back. And everything that was said that was negative in that conference was about Nigeria. Election malpractices, Nigeria. And somebody said, Nigeria is the only country where somebody who did not contest election can be declared as the winner of the election. 419, they said it's Nigeria. So many things. Yahoo, Yahoo, Nigeria. And I was the only Nigerian there. And you had a conglomerate of constitutional law experts globally. And then they called that Nigerian to come and speak. It was a difficult moment, but I had to disarm them by saying that, do you know what? Nigeria is the most happiest nation. You have the happiest and the best people in the world, you find them in Nigeria. And it's true. We have very good people in this country. But the major problem we have is to translating these good people into leadership. And that can only come through a credible election. So we have to appreciate that fact. We meet at this critical junction following the Commission's recent release of the notice of election, the 2027 general election. And the presidential election, as you all know, is set for January 16, presidential and National Assembly elections. Set for January 16, 2027, and the governorship and state houses of assembly elections for February 6, 2027. This roadmap is no longer just an administrative timeline. I am now reporting to this meeting that it is a security trigger. And that is why this lecture is coming at a very, very appropriate and auspicious time. Today, Nigeria faces a sophisticated triad of electoral challenges, the convergence of social media volatility, the weaponization of AI-driven disinformation. Sometimes you have misinformation. We've not even grown beyond misinformation to disinformation, foreign information manipulation, and logistic deficits. So when these digital threats intersect with physical challenge like insurgency and communal strife, the trust deficit widens. It is our collective responsibility to close this gap. It's not just the responsibility of INEC. And that is why I said, I'm happy because, in a way, you are trying to help us to do our job. It is a collective responsibility of everyone, and this must be done with surgical precision. Hence the importance of this lecture. We must recognize that credible elections foster public trust in governance, and this trust is crucial for national security. When citizens believe in electoral system, they are more likely to accept the outcomes, reducing tensions that can lead to unrest. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us as stakeholders, INEC, security agencies, civil societies, and the electorate to collaborate in fortifying the systems that underpin our elections. Under my leadership, the Commission approach is anchored on the supremacy of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, and the Electoral Act. We currently navigating a statutory frontier where adjustment to timelines demands earlier and more rigorous security deployment. We're not merely watching the law and just talking of security in isolation, but we are enforcing its technical safeguards, specifically the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, popularly known as BVAS, and INEC Results Viewing Portal, also known as IREF, as the ultimate defense against electoral fraud. I often say that security is both the first mile and the last mile of election logistics. Our success depends on the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, moving from reactive policing to proactive intelligence coordination. Some time ago, as a professor of law at the University of Jos, I tried to introduce a program known as BA Criminal Justice and Security Administration. And the essence was to see how we could begin to use science and forensic to investigate crime, to detect crime, and even to prosecute. Unfortunately, that program never saw the light of the day because one Indian said Nigeria is the only country that he cannot leave Nigeria because Nigeria is the only country where you can commit murder and you still walk freely on the street. This is because sometimes they say no evidence, but you can use science, forensic, to detect, to investigate, to prosecute, and even to administer justice. Well, this is not the forum for that. Whether it is upcoming Ekiti governorship election, which is on the 6th of June, 2026, or the Osun election, which is on the 18th of August, 2026, our success depends on the Nigerian police. Nigerian police. As the lead agency, ensuring total synergy among all the other security agencies, including the civil defense. That is a constitutional responsibility when you talk of civil defense matters. We must ensure our personnel, materials, and voters are shielded by a unified multi-agency umbrella of protection. Very soon we'll start deploying our equipment. So deployment of security is very germane for us. And we will appeal that this conference and the guest speaker and discussant focuses on the need, even for every security agency to participate in an election, to have their SOP and keep within the ambit of the law. That is very crucial. To the distinguished alumni here today, you are the bridge between strategy and stability. I challenge you to serve as a strategic mover of our democracy. We need your expertise to analyze the situation of national security and election, as well as rule of law as a security asset. Adherence to the Electoral Act is our strongest shield against post-election unrest. We need you to help us refine threat assessments, models, so that the security deployment are both precise and preventable and preventive. Normally, before any election, we have security analysis, and this is ongoing. And I'm happy that the Nigerian police also have their own mechanism for this. So we have various models of security threat and risk assessment. By doing so, we can replicate and surpass the successes recorded in the elections of Anambra State last year and also the FCT election of 2026, area council election. Our own zeal and desire as a commission is to improve with our every election so that we know that Nigerians, what they're asking for today is a perfect election. So as we improve, we know that we'll get there. Despite the peaceful conduct of the FCT election, where the turnout improved from 9.4% in 2022 to 15%, voter apathy remains a sobering challenge. Dropping from 53% in 2011 general election to 26% in 2023 election, and the low turnout is more than, this low turnout is more than a civic concern. It is a security risk, which we have to flag. How do we combat it? Apathy creates a narrative vacuum that non-state actors feel to delegitimize the government. I urge you to join us in emphasizing that a vote cast is a brick laid in the wall of national security. The 2027 general election will be a test of our institutional resilience. I want to assure Nigerians that INEC is committed to a free, fair, and credible election. We understand that a free and credible election will confer both legality and legitimacy on the elected leaders, and will foster economic development of the country. Nigeria is just a country that we have the synthesis, we have the antithesis, and then we have the thesis rather, you have the antithesis, and you are now in the synthesis. And that is the most crucial. For you to get out of the synthesis for development is always a big challenge. And that is where we are. We just need that small magic that will ignite us to go to that level. And of course, election, we appreciate that credible election is able to take us there. I always cite this example. I went to a grocery shop in one of the states in the United States some years back, and I saw a palm, I was excited when I saw a palm oil And I pick it. I saw made in Malaysia, originally from Nigeria. They still acknowledge Nigeria. It was made in Malaysia, but this product is a product of Nigeria. Now, do you know Malaysia tribes, they have transformed palm oil into 28 other byproducts. We are still struggling with cooking with palm oil in Nigeria. So what a tragedy. So it's that small lead that you need. And credible election is able to provide it. National security is very crucial to ensure that we get to that level. Those are countries that were looking up to Nigeria, but they are now far ahead of us. They are far, far ahead. And I want to say that as a part of our preparation for 2027 election, on Tuesday, March 24th, we hosted the political parties to a clause-by-clause review of our regulations and guidelines. As the parties are now going into the primaries, we didn't want to leave anything to chances. So we have done a clause-to-clause review of the guidelines for the political parties, not for the conduct of the election itself. Our CVR is ongoing, among other initiatives. We are cleaning up the national register of voters and depending on our technology to ensure that ballot remains sample-size. When we did Anambra election, somebody referred me to a popular name of a Nigerian leader. That this man, his name, we knew he died many years ago. That was an international observer. Well, look at his name on your register. So we still have, it borders on credibility. There are many things. There are so many dead names. If you look at the ratio of death in Nigeria, how many now? Is it at 12.something% for every 1,000? I don't know whether it's right. But if those names still remain in the register, that is a matter for national security itself. So that is why we are embarking on the National Register of Voters, cleaning up and deepening our technology. Because of our time, I'm not the guest speaker, to enhance the credibility of our electoral processes. We must focus on some key factors and areas. One, voters' education and enlightenment. I'm just watching your appetite. And I'm trying to increase the tempo so that when they come, the anointing will be stronger. Voters' education and enlightenment is very crucial. We also have, I just made a quote of Franklin Roosevelt, who emphasized importance because all these are related to national security, are related to credible election. Franklin Roosevelt said, democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education. So there must be education, education, and more education. Technological integration is very important. That is another point. Robust security framework. And that is why we are here. The presence of reliable security measures during an election is not negotiable. It is essential that we develop a collaborative framework between INEC and our security agencies, ensuring that they are well prepared to address the threats and maintain peace during our electoral period. As a matter of fact, for every election we do, we call ourselves the commissioners, the national commissioners, resident electoral commissioners, EOs, to say the measure of a good election, successful election, number one, if logistic is right, there's early deployment, and you start your voting by 8:30 as advertised in all the polling units in Nigeria, and that is our aim. Because the moment you prolong into the night, it's always a problem. Number two is how peaceful is that election, and that is where you come in as security experts. If election is not peaceful, then no, it's not successful. It cannot be said to be before you now go to result management. Promoting inclusivity, for want of time, eliminating all sorts of electoral vices and malpractices such as result manipulation and vote buying or vote trading. Vote trading is a very serious matter that we have to address. In fact, we're thinking of putting up a task force to be able to address some of those malpractices that have undermined our election and national security. Post-election accountability is also going to be our focus because Nigerians need justice. They don't just want justice, they want to see it. And by God's grace, during my tenure, they will see it. Finally, INEC cannot do this alone. Through the robust coordinations of ICES, we are building a formidable wall of integrity. As I always say, an election is as good as its logistic and only as peaceful as its security. I appeal to the security eggheads in this hall. Let us work together to ensure 2027 is remembered, not for the threats we face, but for the stability we secure. If election is credible and there's peace, believe you me, if Nigerians believe that the man on seat is the one, if that belief is in them, Nigerians, I don't think they are difficult people. And some of the stress we face as INEC, anywhere you go, INEC is looked at with suspicion. Trust deficit, all because of this. So please, let's join our hands together to make the coming election to be memorable. Let's begin to develop democratic cultures within ourselves so that we know. We don't need to be told. As a person, as INEC chairman, there are certain things I should know I must not do. And so also other security agencies. Because of time, I cannot elaborate. May God bless ANISS. God bless our security agencies as we continue to secure Nigeria. And God will continue to protect you and your men. God bless the Independent National Electoral Commission. And God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.